So, welcome YouTube to another edition of the Educational Cast series. As you can see, I failed to spectate a game. So, uh, yeah, we will be spectating Shay in a few minutes. We just need to wait a couple of seconds. That should be alright. Maybe 2 seconds. 10 seconds. Damn it. I was close. But yeah, we are in the stream right now, so we will have viewers. So, uh, and yeah, so it will be Shay and philan philanthropic, philophobic against Recruity and Hijack. So we will look at what can be improved for each of the players and try to give advice to what they can improve. So we have a gross start on philophobic, doing a 3 worker start. That could indicate a gate on 2 because the gates are 265. It's the same as LOD. Not the best start though if he decides to do. Not sure if it's a girl or not. Seems to be a mystery in the chat. So, uh, but Philo, let's call him Philo. Uh, doing a 3 worker start, probably going gate on 2. Shay going for the priestess. That will be king upon everybody. And this is a Sky Queen on Chakruti and a Pilgrim in the middle of the lane for Ajax. So normally you don't want Pilgrim in the middle of the lane unless you have a tank already on the left wall as well as the right wall. Because Pilgrim is all about sharing aggro. So if you have more tanks to share aggro with, you have more potential in the healing, and so your units can live a bit longer. So let's see. This scroll is sold, and we will see the gates around the middle back of the lane right here, I believe. That should be the optimal position of the gate around this area. Okay, more into the middle, so I can understand why. Because he wants to have his steeds in front and RP in the back later on. So you still want the mana to reach the gate later on. So uh, realizing that he has steeds, then it's way better to have the gates in the middle of the lane. Indeed. It's just in the early stages of the game, it's a bit risky, just because they don't have as much time to pump out the units, so you need your tank as soon as possible. He will have 49 gold unless he sends, so that's enough for 3 Bone Warriors, but you don't necessarily want to spam those Bone Warriors. Trickery is now at 5 workers here, not that afraid of the gates, and that's the correct decision to not be afraid of them, because only a 20 can be sent here onto Trickery, so he's pretty much safe on that wave. Still going for the second Harpy, and we will see how it will deal. Okay, so spamming the Bone Warriors. Yeah, so preferably you want them up front to tank, but this will just allow to share the aggro a little bit. So, I mean, maybe optimal for now, but less than ideal later on. So we will see how this goes. The gate is not tanking, so and the Nightcrawler is tanking full. Not sure how this goes, honestly, but the gate will die. But it's all a question of the Hellion, how much damage can it deal, and it looks like it will be a clear, and it is indeed a clear for the gate, despite the 40 cent here, and so we will see a 5th worker for Philophobic. Shay going to 6 workers despite not receiving a cent. That is beyond risky, but you will receive a Fiend accompanied by a Snail. Does have the Buckler here. I would have much preferred to see the Buckler on the side of the other Buckler to share the aggro here. Let the Priestess tank full here. You have the Ranger to support, but it's only a Fiend. The Snail did not come out here. So it might be a hold, honestly, here. And here, why I don't really like what happened here is that now those will go directly on the priestess and not on the ranger. But it looks like it still works out in the end because this is 4 flying chickens, 2 now, and yeah, this is still working out. But I believe that with a snail, that could have been a different story. And we have the massive snail sense here from Philophobic onto the Sky Queen. And that is one of the send I don't dislike onto a Sky Queen. Because it's all about buying time, for the wave to do the damage. So Dino's very good. Snails are also very good because they have a high HP per Mythium cost. Uh, and also each time the Sky Queen needs to change target as well. So you see a lot of confusion caused by those snails. Philophobic did receive a 60 here, but the gate is quite strong here. But he does not have a tank. I would have loved to see the Crusher instead of this Steed here. But no matter, it will be enough to hold from Philophobic, pushing to 6 workers, Shay at 7. Um, and what will he build for wave? For next wave, does decide to go for income here. The Sky Queen was able to hold. Staying at 6 workers here, I would have loved to see him push because he's on value here, so he doesn't need that much value here to be holding. Sky Queen can do well enough against 3 of the Rokos. And so yeah, so if you kill 3 of them at the top, and then they run down onto your Sky Queen, and there's only 3 of them, the Sky Queen has no problem clearing them. So being overvalued here on wave 6 is just overkill considering you have a Sky Queen. Hijack receiving only a 60 here because he is also overvalued here, not pushing that much workers. But now, with those sands, I would love to see them push some additional workers. Hijack pushing to 7 workers, possibly 8. Yes, the 8th worker is coming, so in that case, the overbuild here does make sense, and we'll be able to transition a little bit better now. You see here now on value, still overvalued here for Chakruti, not really liking it. Yes, yeah, having the canopy is very useful, but you could have sold this growl here to get that canopy anyhow. We have Philophobic going for, again, income king up, and the send on from Chakruti onto the priestess, but Shay has the Nekomata here, should be in a position to do very well here. The cannoneer should go on that side here, yes it does, and there should be enough support here to let the Azyria tank some. We will follow this sludge on a journey here to Mystery Land. Let's zoom in to see. Oh, looks like it disappeared and changed its mind. And so yeah, the cannoneer does attack the priestess, but the Daphne is still alive, and only those small sludge are remaining. And yes, it will be either a small leak or a hold. It looks like a hold here, so very nicely played by Shay, pushing additional workers as well. Would have, I mean, he's in a position to go 10 workers here. He might not realize it, but he's not that weak on wave 9. But what he could do is... Okay, so he cannot do it anymore. Okay, 10 workers here happens. But what he could have done here is to shift gold here on this wave and prepare 9. So you might say then, oh, but he will be weak on 10. But he has a Daphne, and Daphne plus Azyria on wave 10 are not to be messed with. So you only need additional tanks that you have in the bucklers quite easily. We do have a large send here coming onto Philophobic, but he has 2 Pegasus here already. And the gate here will be able to pump out some additional units, but no further. But it will be enough damage to kill the wave now with the Harpy full DPS, as well as the tankiness of the Pegasus and the DPS of the Fire Archer as well. So very good clear by Philophobic. I would love to see him pushing to 10 workers, at least out of his gold, into workers because he is on value for wave 10. But he does not have the best setup for 10, but he does have the Berserker. So, I mean, good setup, I think. Good units, I think. That he can maybe hold wave 10. And you see that this 100 gold? Would love to see it push because he is on value right now. And this means additional pressure if you want to go on 10 with Shay here, because 10 seems to be the goal for Shay, or maybe they want to go for 11, but I would think this is a mistake for Shay because he will be leaking 10 if he does not send himself. So I think the play for Shay and Philophobic is to go 10, maybe only income for Philophobic, but at least send here so that you ensure yourself to hold. And if you're afraid of Auto of Assault, well, you have GA Azeria, or you can go Dark Ritual Azeria, or things like that. The Sand on 10 seems to be the play here for Philophobic and Shay in the end. Shay probably looking to a Ghost Knight here, going for the Ogre instead. So why do I say the Ghost Knight despite seeing those masks? Is that any type of damage that is relevant to the boss is only impact damage and magic damage. The masks are still reaching the boss without any problem, and the masks are not doing a lot of damage to the Ghost Knight. And so to prevent large amount of damage to the boss, sending the Ghost Knight is just a go-to play here. But deciding for the Ogre is still not terrible, but it will mean more damage towards the boss. And a higher HP boss onto the king is equal to more damage. But we do have a income send here from Chakruti onto Shay. But Shay, as you can see, the power of the Daphne plus Azeria here melting the boss with a decent tank in the Royal Guard. And so it will be a hold for... Oh, well, this is a priestess only, but not an Azeria. But it will be a hold and will also be a hold for Philophobic. And yes, it will be a hold as well, but the Sky Queen holding as well, but not very strong and will not be able to cover in the middle. So it will be decent king damage, but not optimal, because as we said, the Ghost Knight could be a better play for them. And let's see, additional income sense, Trukurti going for Dark Ritual, they should spot that. So no more additional pressure onto Philophobic and Shay. What do they decide to do themselves? I would love to see GA, but with the APS here, this Azeria is not thinking anymore. So that is a huge shift. That means that the Guardian Angel on her is not really as effective as before. And both going for Dark Ritual here despite the enemy team going for it, and so deciding to try and scale with them. But then they need King Regen, and they do. So it is a gentleman agreement that everybody takes Dark Ritual, it looks like. And so nobody should fear Wave 12 now. And we do see that from that, only one player comes ahead by a large margin, and it is Shay at 18 workers with his Priestess build. He needs to think about Wave 14. Wave 13 can be easily covered by Philophobic, but Wave 14 is a common weak wave for both Shay and Philophobic. If we look more specifically at Chakruti and Hijack, we do see the potential of Wave 14 being also an issue for them, but the board here can be very good as well on 14 with the Aqua. But the Aqua, without any APS, does lack a little bit of firepower. But we do see Chakruti being overvalued here, meaning that he will surely do pretty well on 14 if they do decide to go for it. I do not think that 13 is the correct play here, just because we have specific answers in the Radiant Halo and the Phoenix, as well as the Violets. So let's see how they do react here. Philophobic will be a bit behind compared to Shay. But we do have the Ocean Templar already here, meaning that on wave 14, those gates could be a little bit more powerful as a tank. But let's see how it goes. So in the position of Philophobic, what I would do is spam those gates here. It's not the most powerful unit on 14, but with the Ocean Templar, you have what you have a decent tank. Like if you look at this, the for nature, it takes 125 increased damage, but the Ocean Templar buff increases the damage reduction from magic damage by 20%. So if you do the math, you're around 110, which makes you similar to a fortified tank. So this means that a nature defense does have way less weak wave when paired with an Ocean Templar. So let's see. Wave 14 does come for Hijack, does come for Shay, does Philophobic and Critique join them? And yes, they do. So full auras are coming. But now you need to look that the Hermit is not very impactful on Philophobic and Shay, so those Hermits does not contribute much. Uh, does not contribute much for against Shay and Philophobic. So this Hermit is not the best here, but let's see. Shay sending onto the mask here. Now this is damage across multiple units, and thus the Hermit does make sense here with the mole as well. And the pack leader is just generally good to buff the damage from the wave. We do have the 2 canopies here, but should not be enough uh, unless there is a miracle, because he is 315 under, and we do have the Firelords. Maybe they will share aggro, but doesn't seem very promising on this side, especially due to the size of the sand of Shay here. And Philophobic just reaching the mole here, a little bit crucial, and should be helping him to break Chukruti. But let's see. It's all a question of, does Shay hold this sand? If he does hold it, he's massively ahead. If not, it depends on the size of the leak. We will have a leak on Philophobic. What are the odds on the other side? Hijack leaking massively, and also Chukruti, so Fiesta all around. Chukruti leaking the fewest, I believe, or maybe Philophobic, let's see. And no, Chukruti wins the fewest units leak. He did have the lower sense as well. But this is a lot of king damage, if not game here. The pack leader doing work. The larvas are also smashing the king here into submission. But it seems that the king will live another day. And also on the side of Shay and Philophobic. So the resend from Chukruti seems to be a mistake here. Unless... but Shay is not pushing here. Yeah. Wait, what? They're that far under? Then the resend might be working. But you see a lot of arcing defense here from Shay. And so it should be alright here. It's all a question of can the priestess do her job well enough. And on the side of Philophobic, yes, you do have the Pegasus, but are the gates enough damage here? So the resend could be the winning play here, so let's see. So take a note that if both bosses go through, it will be game for Chukruti and Hijack. But if any of the bosses are dead or cleared, oh yeah, this looks like an easy clear for Shay here. So nothing to worry about. Shay will be covering that. On the side of Philophobic, the boss will be covered as well, I believe, or close to at least, because this guy Queen is just ramping up on him. So rampaging damage, and yes, this is a clear from Philophobic, and yes, this is a clear from Shay, and now they have the upper hand and decide to waste no time and send on 16, and this might be enough, but might be a mistake also because you have two Phoenixes here sharing aggro. We also have Aquas, but in this lane, he is more susceptible to a leak. So let's see. We only have one Tantrum max though, so the pierce damage behind it is not really present. So let's see. It's all about the size of the send and the effectiveness of it. The pack leaders are just generally good on 16 since it is a swarm wave. And so if you are looking at what it is a critical number, I personally do not know. Uh, but if you see around 10 creeps, I do believe it will be enough. If it is anything more, then it is surely game. But the Phoenixes are still alive here, and the wave is not looking too well. Nah, this is looking like a terrible leak here from Hijack, and also on the side of Jacruti. So we will have Philophobic and Shay taking it against Hijack and Jacruti. So very well played by them. One could argue that if they matched on wave 16, it could have been a race against the two teams. But Shay did have the most worker and so the most pressure on Hijack despite him having the better build. So so very well played by Shay and Philophobic, and thank you for the free elo. No, I don't get this elo. It's just a bug. I don't get any of this. It's just a spectator bug. So yeah. So what was the turning point? The turning point was the gate on 2. Uh, so people often say that gates are not that good early on, but it is good for one reason. People do not know when to send against gate because they never see that opening, so they don't know how to really send against it. So the immediate respawn is of course think about wave 3, right? But what you need to keep in mind is that on wave 3, half of the gate is still very good here. We have the range DPS unit that does a lot of damage uh, on wave 3. And also having just partial tanking on the side was pretty good. Uh, I mean, personally, I would not have done Tree Bone Warriors because it's a lot of spam, but if you're gonna use them for Bone Crusher on 5 or Fire Archer on 4, then sure, why not? And the positioning did help for partial tanking, not letting them fully tank was pretty good. I was pretty impressed by that because I'm, for one, do not know how to play the start gate, so uh, but I think if you have this, it's more efficient to have something like a buckler, in my personal opinion. And yeah, so the Sky Queen also playing a bit too passively here for my liking. After receiving on 5, staying on 6, and being overvalued on wave 6 is not what you're looking for as we discussed during the game. You are able to be very good on wave 6 with the Sky Queen DPS. And so while having the Growl here, you wanted the canopy, you can just decide to sell the Growl and do that canopy instead of full shifting for the canopy and being overvalued again on wave 7. So small details that prevented Chukwudi from snowballing a little bit here and putting pressure on Shay. Uh, so the lack of pressure on Shay did help him snowball a little bit more, but Chukwudi had the potential to do it as well. Also over investing into wave 10 here with the Halo, but I can understand that it is still very good on wave 13 as well. That is one of your weakest wave, so preparation for that is still very good, but hiding it is also good. And here being 8 workers after receiving this much of a sand, that much sense, then you need to be exploiting that. With Sky Queen, you are good on 10, you just need a front line. You did have it with the boar already, and so being 8 worker is just reducing the pressure on your opponent, which allow them to push additional workers and then have more pressure on hijack. And that was the the ball that kept rolling after that. The sand on 10 was not big, and so this allowed Shade to use to his advantage the priestess. And yes, indeed, there's a comment here on the by Jules, the developer, that if you see the Daphne here, going for lizards is not often the greatest play here. If you want to send on 10 against this kind of stuff, you need to distract the Daphne away from the boss. So instead of those lizards, you could have done mass DTs, mass snails, I'll, maybe even a dino, just to distract the Daphne away from the boss and prevent the snowball effect from the bonus damage from their passive. So so yeah, on that, I'm gonna say thank you for watching YouTube and see you next time.